Hi everyone, as she said, I'm Hailey Wilson. I'm a graduate student in the GIT program. For those who may not know, Graphic Information Technology. I've focused most of my stuff in 3D and animation. And so with it, I've learned how to do pixel art, modeling, and animation. But with our program, we do more than just that. We also have coding, print, web design, all that stuff. But so I focus more in modeling. But the problem is with our classes is we don't always get to then do something with it, because we just learn how to apply it and then make it, and then we can go on and do whatever we want without it. So here's where I got my inspiration from. It's one of my professors' older classes from another school. So what they did was they took the movie Once Upon a Time in the Wild West and they recreated it in 3D. So they had a big team of a class who all worked together. They made their models. They made the entire background, and they did all the animations as a team. So when they did, they just worked it all. They watched the video over and over again to time it right. So they have everything timed down perfectly to the beginning of the movie, but with Legos. So I was in class one day helping teaching class, and I was like, I wish we can do that, because I always wanted to do more with what I learned in modeling and animation. And so I asked my professor if I can do an independent study with him so I can at least do something like this and learn more than just how to do a simple little walk animation or a run or a jump and all that. So I asked him, could I do a project? And he's like, yeah, it might be difficult because it will just be you and it'll be an independent study. And I told him, you know what, I'm totally fine with that. So what I did was, there's another video. It's called Gertie the Dinosaur. Let me play a little bit of it for you. Let me skip to when it's actually the animation. Okay, so Gertie the Dinosaur came out in 1914 and has been one of the known first keyframe animations. And for keyframe animations, for those who don't know, are essentially main animations are made at the time, and then we have interns that usually fill them in. So with Gertie, since she's back in 1914, it's a silent film. In some versions, you'll find it has a piano, but mostly it's all silent. So Gertie was all animated on like 10,000 pages of rice paper. And so I saw this, I'm like, that's so cool, I want to make this. So I asked my professor if I can do this. He looked at me and he's like, that's a lot of work, but if you want, you can do it. So I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I started this semester. I modeled everything in the background. I made sure everything was done. I had a month window. I modeled the entire background. Gertie herself and her 3 other friends are in this video. There's a 4-winged flying monster, Jumbo the elephant, and a sea serpent. So they're all within this video, and I didn't want to just recreate a little 2D art. I wanted to make it 3D. I wanted to bring Gertie into today's platform. So I made her in 3D. So that's a little bit of Gertie. Now let me bring up my actual Gertie so you can look at the 3D version of it. I think it's scene 3. So while we're bringing that up. So I've had some troubles with Gertie just because I went from 2D to 3D, and I'll explain that more when we get there. But so far this has been a fun project. I'm almost done with it. I have modeled, rigged, and animated all her by myself, and then I'm going to render, and then I'm going to post-production all by myself. So it's a little bit of a hectic project. I've gone a little bit insane with it, but it's so much fun to decide to do something more than just learn stuff in class. It's more interesting to get an idea from something and then apply what you learn and take it farther. So then we can actually develop more than just learning stuff in class. So essentially, as you can see, it's completely 3D. So I have my model, and all these, the bones inside are called the rig. And so the rig, essentially, we apply it to it, so then it's skinned, and then we allow the mesh to move. Let me see if I can bring up the rest of my stuff real quick, too. So then we can really look at all the stuff that's been done. So we have the tree corner. Okay, so this is the entire scene. It's a little stretched to help with the perspective, because that's one issue that I have had with Gertie, is she's mostly in the front perspective. And she's so large, and in 3D, I can't just really manipulate her to be small than large, because then the bones don't apply to the skin much, and then she kind of tends to sag and look like a little deflated balloon. So I had to do a few tweaks here and there. There's going to be a lot in post-production to make her look small and then get larger as she gets bigger. So there has been some issues that has to be accomplished to get her to look exactly the same, but in 3D. So let's look at a little animation I have of her. Should be where she's bowing. So like I have her move and she's on like a little loop, but essentially this is one scene of the entire Gritty video that I was just briefly playing for you. And so what it is I'm making all these scenes separately. I'm running them all out, and then I'm going to put them together like an actual film and start cut editing and starting putting things together. So it'll have little text boxes in between. It'll have all these, all the different animation formats. So it all should look just like Gritty, but just in 3D. And now there's been an issue with it, because this is what a lot of people don't know about 2D. 2D cheats. 2D cheats all the time because there's only one perspective. It only has an X and a Y, so there's no Z. So you can't see if something's getting distorted. So in Gertie's video, she kind of does this little thing where she kind of like leans a little. But as living organisms, we can't just kind of stretch our muscles past the point where it can't go. To the point when we do that, the muscles tend to start to move with it instead of stretch. So in her little video, there's a part where she actually like does this with her legs, which is okay in the video. But when it comes to an actual more lifelike creature that I have with the actual skeleton, it's not going to twist like that. The whole body's going to go with the rest of the joints. So there has been that issue of trying to figure out how to get it to look similar, but make sure it's still lifelike. Because the way I have her here in 3D, she's a living creature basically. So she's still kind of stuck to move like a real character. So then besides 3D, we also have 3D print, which is one of my favorite things. Sadly, I don't have the model with me. But so essentially, I made a critter over the summer because I wanted to like develop my skills more, and I wanted to make a quadruped. So I made it over the summer. I worked like 6 hours on like almost every single part of it, and then I wanted it to be real, which is another cool thing that we can do now with 3D printers. We can make 3D models and then bring it in the world. So we have a whole new step organization we go. We can go from flat 2D images of a character, then to 3D, then to animated 3D, and then we can actually bring it into the real world. So then we can print it. And I've actually done another independent study the semester before, where I don't have pictures of them at the moment, but I made a little fencing toy, kind of like our Rock'em Sock'em robots, but it was with fencing. So my friend who's an engineer, we designed it with engineering, so we had a 3-point system in the arm. So then we had it where the little fencer can like extend the arm, had a button in the chest, but it's all done with 3D. So with 3D, we can make toys too. So that's another cool thing that I learned through just doing stuff. Let's see, what else? And then she wants me to talk about costuming and the innovation that had to go into it. So for some people I know in this class know a costume I made. For those who know Pacific Rim, I made Cherno Alpha from the movie. My friend made Gypsy Danger. So when the movie came out a few months later, we decided, let's make a costume. Well, let's not just make a costume, let's make almost a small life-scale size and super detailed, so we did. It took us about 3 months just to get the basic suit done, which I think there's a picture up there you can see all the way up here in the top right-hand corner with me in my red shoes. That was because my feet broke. So essentially, this character is very Russian. It has giant upside-down U feet, so it's a giant arch for a foot. Now, normal people can't make that arch with their feet, so we thought, why don't we make it out of wood? So then I can actually stand on top of it like stilts, so when someone takes pictures of me, I will then have the full look of Cherno. I'll have the feet, the full legs, the chest, the body, the head, everything. The problem was that it broke. And it broke because we kind of cut corners trying to make it look as good as possible with not having to wonk up for my feet. So it broke. So then we went back to the drawing board, we made them better. That still didn't work because then I couldn't lift them with my legs. I had to lift them with my ankles. And that's hard to do when they're about like 5 to 6 pounds each. So inside, I actually have a metal rig. Kind of like Forrest Gump almost, where I have 2 metal beams that go up around my legs, have a joint here, and they go up my thighs as well. So then I have a bending mechanism. Then they screw into the bottom of the feet. So then when I attach them, then they're stuck to my feet. So I lift my leg, the foot comes with me. So we had to do a lot of tinkering just to get it to work right. And there's actually quite a bit like up in the hands. My hands aren't at the end of the hand because otherwise the hands would look too short. So we actually have it to where the hand comes here, and we have it on a rail system where I can actually like bop the arm forward to make it like the movie, and the hands actually can open and close, and they're 3D printed, all that. We have fans, we have lights everywhere. We actually detailed all of it by hand, so we like actually etched the lines and panel lining and all that, then all the little rivets. So that's basically all the innovation I've done so far, outside of class.
Do you have a picture of your costume?
Yeah, right here. But,
Yeah, okay. So,
any questions?
questions?
Yes? I take all of the nice stuff that I've learned in my classes and I apply it outside in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's through color theory I've learned through all my classes, or just shape and proportions and all that. So all the stuff that I've done outside of class has been applied with some of the knowledge I've learned from all my classes somewhere. I think we're good.
Other questions? Andrew, did you have a question?
I sort of answered it myself.
Oh, okay.
I think we're good.
Think we're good?
Yeah?
All right, let's give Hailey a... Thank you.
No problem.
I appreciate that.